It's the beginning of 1943, and occupying Nazi forces have become more dangerous, subjecting you and other Dutch citizens to increased oppression. You're determined to do something, and will resist regardless of the consequences, even if it means death. But you cannot do this alone. You have sought out others that share your view. Together, you will form a resistance group and help to liberate the Netherlands. Hello everybody, welcome to Totally Tabled. My name is Shaggy, and today I'm doing a sponsored overview for Dutch Resistance Orange Shall Overcome, a cooperative scenario-based game for 1 to 5 players currently seeking funding on Kickstarter. Check out the link in the description below for more information. Keep in mind that the publisher, Liberation Game Design, paid me to make this video to show you how the game is played. Now, I went ahead and I got everything set up for a 2-player game, or a solo game using 2 characters. There are 2 other solo modes that allow you to play with only 1 character, but I'll discuss those towards the end of this video. In Dutch Resistance, players take the role of, you guessed it, members of the Dutch Resistance during the final years of World War II. You'll be working to complete specific goals, including non-violent forms of resistance, such as expanding your network, keeping people safe, or moving important objects between locations. The base game comes with 5 scenarios. For your first game, you're going to want to play with the first scenario. But for this overview, I'm going to show off scenario 2 at normal difficulty. The core gameplay remains mostly the same regardless of what scenario you play. The back of each scenario sheet shows you exactly how to set up the map, including where to place each location, each starting policeman and soldier tile, the starting alibi level for each character, and lastly, the starting group morale. Keep in mind that I'm using the side of the game board with a muted background so that the pieces will show up better on camera, but the other side has a more colorful background if that's what you prefer. Dutch Resistance comes with various characters you can play, each with their own unique player powers and unique set of 3 action cards. Also, each character is based on a historical figure. You can read a little bit about their actual participation in the Dutch Resistance on the back of their identity cards. For this overview, I'm going to play as Selma, who is able to move around the board very fast, and Jacoba, who has this special outfit that can let her secretly store extra resources. In scenario 2, your resistance group is attempting to provide supplies and safe hiding spots for several men who are being pursued by German forces. Because I'm playing on normal difficulty, I shuffled all 9 of these tiles. They're known as person in hiding tiles. And I placed out 3 on the map. Each tile shows a starting location on the left and then a destination location on the right. For example, Nico begins hiding at city location 7, which for this scenario is the zoo, and he needs to go to country location number 6. For this scenario, the meeting place. On that spot, I've placed a random cost tile. And then I've placed a number 1 on both to show that those are connected. And I've done a similar thing for Jan and Benjamin. Our goal is to save these men, and in order to do that, one of our characters must travel with them to their destination and spend both an identification card as well as the resources shown on the cost tile. Then they'll come off the board and be saved, and if we can save 5 men, then we've won the scenario. Everything else you need to know I will explain as I play, which is what I normally do on this channel. So let's just go ahead and dive right into the first round. You start each round by gathering your character's 3 action cards. Then each character gets an Occupier card. Now, while all these other decks have just been shuffled, the Occupier deck has been constructed in a very specific way, according to the rules. We have a stack of level 2 Occupier cards that have been shuffled, and then a stack of level 1s on top of it. So the deck is going to get worse halfway down. We've also shuffled in some scenario-specific cards into this deck. You now want to look out at your morale token. Right now it's at 15. Your morale is important for 2 reasons. 1, if it ever gets to 0, you automatically lose the game. But second, we're going to get extra actions based on where our morale is. And the way you track that is by flipping over the morale action tile next to it, as well as every morale action tile below it. So in this case, we're going to get 4 extra actions that are going to be shared amongst all the characters. Figuring out how to distribute these actions and when is a big part of the cooperation of the game. You then want to give one of the characters the first player token, and now you're ready to start the action phase, the meat of the game. During this phase, the first player is going to resolve all of their action cards and any morale actions that they want to take. And once they're completely done taking actions, they're then going to resolve their Occupier card. Once they're done, the next player will go. They'll take all their actions and then resolve their Occupier card. And the players are not allowed to share what their Occupier card says. That has to remain a secret between the players. In order to replicate that in a solo game, you simply look at the Occupier card for the current player and not the other player. So since Jacoba is first, we can look at her cards, but we're going to leave Selma's cards face down. So once we're done taking actions, we know we're going to have to flee from trouble. This says that if we're in a city location, then whatever location we're in is going to lose 2 safety, and we're going to lose 2 alibi. But if we're in a country location, then we're just going to lose 3 morale. Safety refers to these tracks at the bottom of every location. Whenever those tracks get to 0, then a raid happens, and that's very bad. Raids can cause us to lose morale, and if one of these men that are hidden that we're trying to protect are at a location that gets raided, there's a chance that they could get found and arrested. So maintaining the safety of these locations is really important. Alibi is also an important track that each character has. If any one of our characters' alibi gets to 0, that's another way that we can lose the game. And alibi also affects the safety of the locations that we go to. You'll see how all that works here in just a little bit. But what this Occupier card is telling me is that we would probably want to end our turn in the country, because I think losing 3 morale is a little bit better. And our character actually starts in the country, so I think we'll be okay. Now, in order to take actions, we're going to spend our action cards. Each character has a unique set of action cards. Most of these cards, like this Group 2000 card, will let you either take a basic action or a special action that's at the bottom. Some cards, like this Carry the Burden, will let you take a basic action and also an additional action, or it'll have some kind of special effect. Furthermore, we can also use these morale actions just by flipping over the token in order to take a basic action. So we have lots of options, and we essentially have 6 basic actions that we can choose from. The first thing I want to do is to take a location action. Every location has a unique action that you can take, and here at the meeting place, we're just going to get a document. There are 5 resources in the game: money, rations, contacts, information, and documents. To take this action, I'm just going to use this Group 2000 card. So I could have just taken this bottom action, which would have let me move either 0 or 1 spaces, and then take some information, or spend an information in order to get a helper card. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to take the top basic action, which will be this location action, and receive a single document. And because of her special ability, we can place our resources down here in her jacket before we place them here on this track. And that's really nice, because the more resources that you're holding, the more attention you're drawing to yourself, and the less safe the locations you go to become. You'll see that here a little bit later. Now for my second action, I'd like to do the same thing. I want to collect a bunch of these documents. These are going to be very important because we're going to want to take these to the forger way up there and convert them into identification cards. We're going to need to spend an ID card every time we try to save one of these men. So it's a good chance, since we're here, might as well rack up some of these documents. But this time, I'm going to use one of these morale actions. You can use these at any time. And you know what? Let's just do that a third time as well. Now I think I'd just like to take a move action. And to do that, I'm just going to spend this card. Now the bottom would let me move 1 space and then ignore any occupiers, which are these police or the soldiers that are on the road. I think I will actually do that. Now, alternatively, I could just take a regular move action, which would let me move 1 or 2 spaces. But I think I'd rather use this bottom one to move 1 space down this G road, past this police officer, up there to the printer. Thematically, I'm using a suit that makes me look pregnant, that is making the police officers less suspicious of me, so I'm able to move right past them. And again, this is tied into actual history, which is so cool. And now I think I'll spend my last card to do another location action here at the printer. That's going to let me collect 2 information. So now I filled up my special suit, and now we're going to be adding these to our resource row from left to right. And then in addition there, I also get to increase our morale by 1. And this carry the burden now has a special thing that I get. It says that if my suit has all 4 of its slots filled up, then get an extra morale. There we go. Now I could take more of these morale actions if I want to, but I think I'm done. That's going to be all the actions that I take. And now we have to resolve this fleeing from trouble. I know I said I was going to try to stay in the countryside and not go to the city, but I kind of ignored that, and I am in the city there. You can see I'm in city location 4. So this printer is going to lose 2 safety, and the character is going to lose 2 alibi. And then this card just gets discarded. Okay, there we go. Now it's Selma's turn. Selma is a nurse, and so she starts at the hospital, like it shows on her identity card. Benjamin appears to be hiding in the hospital. He needs to go all the way here to the hairdresser. The problem is the hospital is surrounded on all sides. 2 sides by policemen and 1 by a soldier. The soldier is actually twice as dangerous as the policeman. So this is a pretty unsafe place to be. I think what someone would like to do is to bring Benjamin along here to the zoo, because look at this. Look at how much safety is at the zoo. Basically double the safety of any other location. So that'd be a great place to hide while we collect the resources that we need. Now, when you take a basic movement action, you can bring along 1 and no more than 1 hidden person. But you can only travel on a safe road. In other words, a road that doesn't have a policeman or a soldier on it. So at the moment, Benjamin's trapped. Luckily, each scenario has their own special actions that you can take. And for this scenario, we have Misinform, which will let us actually move an adjacent policeman or soldier to a connected road. So long as that road that they're going to only has at most 1 other occupier token there. So that's definitely her plan. But first, let's look at the occupier card, because now that we've moved on to the next character, we can look at it. It says tough times. This is a special scenario-specific occupier card that we shuffled into the deck. There's 8 of them in total. So at the end of Selma's turn, she's either going to have to move a policeman and then lose 2 resources and 1 alibi, or have 2 locations that have people who are hiding lose 1 safety, and then also lose 2 morale. Okay, that could be worse. That could be worse. I think she'll actually just use one of these morale actions. We have 2 of them. And she's going to move this police officer from here to this connected road here, going through the zoo. Now, when a policeman moves through a location, they lower the safety by 1. And if one of our characters had been at that location, that would lower our alibi by 1 as well. If a soldier moves through a location, they lower everything by 2. So they're twice as bad. I think I'm going to use this lay low card. We'll do the special action at the bottom, which is going to let us do a move of 1 to 3 spaces. And if all of the spaces are on safe roads, which means there isn't an occupier on them, then we'll gain an alibi. So for the first movement point, she's going to bring along Benjamin and go to the zoo now that we've opened up a route. And now she's going to leave Benjamin at the zoo hiding and spend her second movement point to go up to the forger. and then her third to move to the bank. All three of those were safe, and so she'll get an alibi. We're going to need a bunch of money to cover these costs, and that's what you get at the bank. So I think she's just going to do some location actions here. We'll just spend the last of our morale. And you actually get 2 money. And what the heck? I think she'll do it again and get 2 more. She'll just spend this card just to take the basic action. And now she'll move using this quick movement card. She actually gets to take an action and then move 1 space. So she'll get 2 more money. Move 1 space over to the forger. She'll bring Jan with her. And then she would get to increase the safety of the location that she's in right now by 1, but the forger is already at its max safety level. So that's it. She's completely done taking actions. We now have to resolve tough times. So both the zoo and the forger are going to lose a safety. And we'll lose 2 morale. And there we go. That would be the end of the action phase. Now, there's a few basic actions that I haven't shown off yet. Let me describe those for you now. At any location for an action, you can lower the safety by 1 in order to gain an information token. The information resource is a bit unique because you can always spend one of those to re-roll a die. Now, there's various times when we're going to be rolling these dice. One time you roll a die is for another different action that you can take, which is to increase the safety of a location. You just spend an action, roll the die, and then you can increase it by that amount. So if you got a bad roll, this could be a time when you wanted to spend an information token to give that a reroll. And of course, this only happens at the location where you currently are. The last type of action that you can take is to use one of these train tickets. You can acquire these here at the station, or like for instance, this helper would give you a train ticket. And then you can spend these to go anywhere on the map, ignoring policemen and soldier tokens along the way. But when you spend one, you have to flip it over, and usually there's some negative effect on the back. So now that we're done with the action phase, we move from the day period into the night period. And we enter the danger phase. The first thing we do is we lower the safety of the location that we're at, depending on the resources that we're carrying and our alibi level. So looking here at Jacoba, her resources are in this area, so her location is going to lose 1 safety, and her alibi is at the 6, so she's going to lose an additional safety. So the printer is going to lose 2 safety. As you can see, as your alibi goes down and as the resources you're carrying go up, your locations are going to get less and less safe. You're bringing more and more attention to yourself, and the chances of a raid increase. Selma is carrying a ton of money, so that's going to be -2 safety, and then her alibi is -1, so the forger is going to lose 3 safety. And now for this scenario, we have a special little danger thing we have to do. We have to look to see whether the city or the country has more people in hiding. And right now, the city has all 3 of the people in hiding. So we're going to roll a die, and one of the city locations is going to lose an additional safety. It's going to be number 3, the hospital. Okay, glad that wasn't number 2. And now we go into the final phase of the round, the patrol phase. We're going to draw the top patrol card, and we can see here that this is going to affect policemen and soldiers in the yellow region. There are 4 different colored regions. The yellow region is over here, the M, N, O, and P. So we draw this card. And like we do with all the cards, we're going to resolve them from left to right, top to bottom. So the first thing that happens is we lose a morale. And then once again, we're going to be rolling for one of the city locations, and they're going to lose a safety. So this time it's 5 over here at the university. And now it shows that all soldiers in this yellow region are going to move one space in the black direction. Now we don't have any soldiers here, so we're going to move on. And now it says all policemen in the region move one in the white direction. So if you look here at road M, it's showing that the black direction is towards the L street and the white direction is towards the N street. So this police officer is going to move to that street. It's passing through the zoo, which means it loses a safety. And now this police officer is going to do the same thing, moving to Q. And the distribution office takes a hit. Now it shows at the bottom of the card what would happen if there were no police officers or soldiers in the area. But there we go. That's resolved. We'll just put it to the bottom of the deck. We'll pass the first player marker. And there we go. That was a complete round of the game. We'll start round 2 by taking back our 3 character cards, taking an Occupier card, resetting our morale track. We managed to stay in that area, so we're going to get 4 additional actions again. And we'll keep playing until we either win by saving 5 of these persons in hiding, or we lose, which could happen in one of 3 ways. Either we lose all of our morale, one character loses all of their alibi, or we go through the entire Occupier deck. We have enough cards in here to last 12 rounds, so we do need to win within 12 rounds. I almost forgot, there's a special thing that happens at the very beginning of each round in Scenario 2. If in the previous round no person in hiding was arrested, then you get a little special bonus of 1 morale. There we go, our morale is back to where it started. That's not so bad. Now to finish up, I'd like to discuss a couple of other things that can happen during your game. Let's say that Selma here wanted to move from the forger through the bank to the hairdresser and move over that policeman. Now, as long as she didn't have a person in hiding with her, then she can move over a road with an occupier, but you have to draw one of these halt cards. Now, if you're playing multiplayer, you'd have somebody else take the card and read it to you. If you're playing solo, just make sure you take another card and you cover up the right side of the card so that you don't see the results. So right here, we got the crossroads. You are at a crossroads. You know that both roads that you can take have checkpoints. At one road's checkpoint, there are relaxed guards, but you will see all the horrors of the war, as many people have been and still are deported from here. At the other road's checkpoint, you will have to talk your way past strict guards, who will definitely look at your papers. Which road do you choose? The one with the relaxed guards or the ones with the strict guards? So you would make that decision, and then over on the right side here, it'll show you what will happen, and it'll be something different depending on if you passed over a police officer or a soldier. Now I'm going to keep that hidden so as not to spoil the card for you. Now in the base game, there are 46 of these halt cards, but I know they're going to be providing an extra pack of them that will take the total up to 70, just to add some extra variety. After resolving the halt card, you then want to intensify the road. If it's a policeman, you'll then flip them to the soldier side. And if there's a soldier there, you would just add a policeman. Now, the last big thing that can happen is the safety of a location can go down to 0, which immediately triggers a raid. Just draw the top raid card. Now, if there's a person in hiding at the location that's being raided, you're going to roll the 2 dice. And then you're going to consult the number there in the upper right. If your roll is equal to or greater than that number, then the raid found nothing. But if, like in this situation, the roll is less than that number, they're going to find the hidden person and arrest them. In scenario 2, when a person in hiding gets arrested, you immediately lose 2 morale. You're going to place that token back into the game box, and then you're going to spawn a new person in hiding. So there's always 3 on the board. Scenario 2 actually has a 4th way that you can lose the game, which is if you ever need to put out a person in hiding and the stack is empty, then you lose. Whether there was an arrest or not, you're then going to resolve the bottom part of the card. In this case, we'd have to resolve another patrol card, lose some morale, lose some safety, possibly lose alibi, and things like that. Lastly, I want to discuss the two different solo modes that let you play with just one character. The first mode simulates a second resistance group that you can request help from. You'll pick between one of these two different groups, and each one has a basic and a challenging side. Then at the start of every round, you'll put out 3 of these request tokens into 3 different locations. During your turn, if you're in that location, as a free action, not spending an action point, you can request some help, which will be different depending on which group you choose. So if you choose group 1 here, you could actually get some resources at the expense of 1 safety. Any request tokens you don't use during the round will actually provide you with a benefit during the danger phase. So again, here in group 1, for each unused request, you'll get a morale and 2 additional safety at those locations. But you can see there's also an extra rule during the danger phase where if you have at least 2 resources on your player board, then you lose a safety at your location. Then at the end of the round, you pick these up and you can place them out again into different locations. The second solo mode is much simpler. It's just at the beginning of each round, you get to pick between one of the 2 helper cards and resolve it. And then when you do, you just stick it at the bottom of the pile. So you can use either of those solo modes, or you can do what I did and just play with 2 characters. The game comes with 5 different scenarios that play very differently. They kind of increase in complexity. And I've heard that more scenarios are in the works, along with extra characters and expansion modules. To learn more and get more information, please check out the Kickstarter page. A link is in the description below. But there you have it. That is my sponsored overview of Dutch Resistance: Orange Shall Overcome. As always, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.